Welcome to Plantish Live. I'm Nina Curtis. My co-host, Chef Cesabek Rando, and I go live Tuesdays, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm excited to have you join us. When you come in, please share where you are tapping in from. We have a very exciting conversation today, and I'm thrilled. All of our sessions are exciting. I get excited about each session, but each session continues to get better and better and better and better. So, I just will let you come in. Tell me what you're drinking this morning. What's your drink of the morning? Are you matcha? Are you a smoothie? Are you tea? Are you coffee? Are you mushroom coffee? I mean, we have so many choices today that I'm a matcha girl. So I'll just put that out there and rock and roll. I see you coming in. Clover Valley Culinary, welcome. Real Urel, welcome. Hey, Chef, welcome to your own podcast live.
Happy Tuesday, Chef. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Feeling good, feeling nourished and balanced and all the great things.
All those great things that we do. Well, I'm thrilled to have today. I'm always thrilled with Tuesday. I tell you, oh, I live by Tuesdays, It's like, oh, next Tuesday, we're going to do this. And excited to have our guest today, Executive Chef Tommy McDonald, who is with Field Roast. Chef Tommy and I worked together last year. I can't believe. Hello, Chef Tommy. How are
Hi,
you?
Chef. How are you? I'm great.
I'm good. I can't believe it's been a year since we worked together at the National Restaurant Association last year.
I know. It's the next one's coming up. We're already planning for it right now.
I
Which it's a grind.
I know it is, fam. I did a demo. I was working with the Plant-Based Food Association and Hannah Lopez, and we did Sunday morning. I was the first, presenter out, and I did plant-based brunch items. What would you do on a Sunday but brunch? And I figured people would be coming from church, so we'd reel them in. And I did a breakfast burrito, one of the items, because that was a top item in the cafe that I managed. And it sold out, not by the vegans in the business in our cafe. It sold out by the omnivores and the flexitarians. And the vegans were giving me a hard time, like, can't you put some aside? I'm like, no, just get here earlier. I don't know what to do. I keep making more. But I did this presentation, and Chef Tommy took it a step further because I could see him from the stage. His booth, Field Roast, was just down the aisle, so I could see where he was at. He made, 200 breakfast burritos for the audience to enjoy once I finished the presentation. So I didn't tell him in the beginning. I didn't tell him beginning. I held that nugget to the very end and then said, because I think somebody in the audience said, oh, I wish I could try it. And I was like, well, this is your day. You can. And they descended on Chef Tommy and the Field Roast booth. I couldn't even get up to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think I got to get a burrito, Chef Tommy.
Nope, they cleaned us out, Chef. It was they made quick work of it. But I appreciated that because honestly I didn't know what we were gonna do food wise. We've got so much stuff to show, so sometimes I get kind of stuck. Maybe some like writer's block, if you will. And so you swooped in. You said, "I'm doing the burrito." But it's going to be really hard for us to let people try it on the demo stage. And I said, well, I think we'll just do that. But yeah, we pre-made a ton of them, and I think we ended up pressing them on a sandwich press, which ended up working out great. And it's such a good product, the Mexican Chipotle. That was great. That was great. I'm looking forward to this year too.
Yes, I won't be there. I'll be there in spirit. But Chef Tommy, I want you to officially meet Chef Cesabek. He is in the East Coast. He has been a vegan since birth. He is a chef. And Chef Cesabek, I know you've tried Field Roast.
Yes, I have. For many, many, many years, I've worked with it. I love it. It's amazing. So I'm super excited for this conversation.
Right?
Chef, do you have a
Great to meet you,
favorite
Chef.
field roast? Do you have a
Ooh, my
favorite
favorite.
field roast product?
Uh, I would have to say, uh, ooh, oh my goodness. Well, okay. I'll say the apple maple
Oh,
sausage, breakfast sausage. That one is amazing. Love it. Yeah, that's my favorite. What about you?
you know, I've worked with so many of the products. I've been working with field roast since 2014, and I first was introduced to it personally, like most of the things that I would bring in the cafe, and then every cafe that I've managed, I've brought it in. So I am with you on that apple maple. I love the chipotle. I love the chipotle, whether it's the crumble or the sausage. We would make this chili that would sell out in the cafe, and I put that chipotle sausage in. And, you know, it was another sellout. Just people would come and get it. And we made cornbread
Ooh,
muffins.
sounds so good.
So,
It's good.
so Chef, Chef Tommy, while we pump you up and celebrate you today, I also want to mention that Chef Tommy in 2017 launched the Field Roast 101 vegan meat recipes to cook, share, and savor. Okay, so Chef Tommy, you have Field Roast. You are a grain meat company, and then you write a book to teach people how to make their own grain
Totally.
meats. You give all the secrets away.
We did. I was not all of the secrets.
Well, not all
Most
of
of them.
them. Well, even most of them is a lot.
Right.
So tell me, how did you get to where you are today, sitting with us with over a decade of time with Field
Right.
Roast?
Well, that's a long
Well,
journey. So, you know, I was thinking about that. I was trying to do some reflection on that before I jumped on with you. And I'm very excited to be here today because I love talking about kind of our field roast history and how I came to field roast and just all the things we've done over the years, which has been it's been such an awesome, positive, wonderful experience. So let's see. I'm from Seattle originally. Now I live in Chicago. That's where I'm joining you from. This is our head office. It's a little boring looking. I had to throw some books in the back to spruce up my background. But yeah, so I'm from Seattle originally, and out of college, or even during college, I was cooking in restaurants and working at in Seattle. We have a food co-op, but not just like any food co-op. It's like the food co-op. It's called PCC Community Markets, but at the time it was called Puget Consumers Co-op, or PCC. So that's where I first was introduced to field roast. Obviously, field roast, food co-op, hand in hand. This is probably back in like 2005, 2006. So I'm cooking in the co-op, and we're making all the stuff you'd find behind the glass: seasoned tofu, macaroni salad, kale salad, and right next to us there was this cooler that had all of the vegan meats, vegan cheeses, right off the produce section, and it was just right. We had to walk past it every time we went into the kitchen. And at PCC, this was kind of my first exposure to, because I didn't grow up this way, hardcore vegans and vegetarians. That wasn't kind of the space that I grew up in. My family's all in the fishing industry. I mean, imagine from Seattle, it's a big stretch, but that's kind of where we come from. And then when I grew up, my grandma, she had a farm. I work out on the farm. She raised chickens, cattle, pigs, rabbits, everything. So this is not the world that I come from. But working at the food co-op, you also have access to all these really cool ingredients in the produce section, and we were bringing in nice olive oils and all kinds of cool stuff like that. So we're working there. We do a lot of stuff from scratch and just working with the different people there. Some of the folks turned me on to field roast. Yeah, at the time, it was smoked apple sage on like a whole grain bread, lots of veggies, maybe like some coleslaw on it, and we'd split the sausage down the middle, sear it real hard, and then put it on the sandwich. Dude, we were eating good, and that's kind of how I got exposed to field roast, and it was awesome. Kind of blew my mind a little bit because when I was growing up, my sister, she couldn't eat hot dogs, so my mom would go out when we would have hot dogs. She would go out and eat tofu pups or smart dogs, and
That's taking us back, Chef.
well, which is ironic because I don't know. I'm sure you all know, but field roast is we're owned by a larger company now, and the company that owns us also owns Light Life. So I also, as a chef, I also represent Light Life. It's full circle here, full circle. So,
Full circle.
but at the time, and admittedly still today, the smart dogs they're not for me. They're not my favorite product. So when I tried field roast, it was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know vegetarian meat could taste like this. So flash forward, I'm working there and working at restaurants around the city. And it's probably 2011, 2012 at this point. I have left my previous job. I went on a big cycling trip over in Belgium with some buddies. We rode around. I like beer, so we rode around to all the Trappist breweries, all the monasteries where the monks brew the beer. So we ride from one to the next and the next and the next. Total bucket list thing, right? So we come back. My plan was I'm gonna get a job at a fine dining restaurant and really try and push it and push myself and try and get into fine dining and eventually open up my own fine dining restaurant in Seattle. So I'm interviewing at the time. I hate being bored at home, so I had to get this other job. So funny. I was working at a dueling piano bar. That was a wild scene, running the kitchen there 2 days a week. That was my that was my downtime, and while I was interviewing, and total serendipity, I had a friend, and he said, "Hey, I got some Mariners tickets. Mariners, that's the baseball team in Seattle. Big Mariners fan. Over the years, they haven't been the greatest team. So I'm like, you know what? Let's go. It's not that hard to get tickets, but hey, I'll go with you. That sounds pretty fun." So we're at the game. His dad is David Lee. He's was the owner and the founder of Field Roast. So we're sitting at the game, and obviously the Mariners, they're not doing well. We got a lot of downtime, and I start talking to David, and he starts telling me about field roast. He's curious. Have you seen field roast? Do you know about field roast? What do you do? I said, I'm a chef. I've tried field roast. I love field roast. It's great. It's not really the kind of stuff that I eat all the time, but I don't eat a lot of vegetarian meat, but field roast is really good. So he starts going off on just what field roast is all about. And right away, like the conviction that he has when he talks about anything, but especially when he was talking about field roast, I think it was just infectious. And I wrote this down here because I was thinking about this. I said, when he was talking about what field roast was, I said, I felt like he put words to so many things that I felt but had never taken inventory of when he was talking about food and the approach. So he was talking about the food makers, the artisans that are putting food together, about the people who are working at field roast creating the food and how important they were, and the mana, the energy that that they put into the food every day. And I'm like a total sucker for a story, especially when it comes to food. Like, if you ever go to the winery and get the full story when you're drinking the wine, it always tastes 10 times better. Or if you go to the farm and you try the fruit, it's always 10 times better, right? So I've essentially, at this point, I didn't know it, but I'm hook, line, and sinker. And I had this other job lined up with another chef, and his pitch comes at the end of the game. He says, "You know what? I need someone who is a chef who can go into kitchens and take this energy that we've put into our beautiful food and translate that energy to chefs and get them inspired to take it the next step. Because we're not just selling a veggie burger here. This is something, it's bigger than that." And so he says, think about it. And for me, it was a big decision. I wanted to go and work in restaurants, open up my own restaurant, but this kind of presented something I don't think I even knew what it was going to be at the time. And I just kind of took the leap and went for it. So here I am.
Here you are, and we're so thrilled to have you here. And what a story, because you talk about, wanting to go into fine dining. And if I'm not wrong, Chef David Lee came from fine dining and wanted to do something different.
Correct. Yes. He did. He opened a couple of really big restaurants in Seattle that opened in the 90s. And he was also part of this group called Fair Start. He started it. He started Fair Start, which is a really remarkable thing. If you're ever in Seattle,
okay,
they have a cafe and a restaurant, and Fair Start is centered around a retraining program for homeless folks and underserved people around Seattle. And so they'll bring in culinary professionals from the city. And they help to train folks, train them up for the industry and help with job placement. And you can go in and eat a wonderful meal at the restaurant, a beautiful space. But yet, before David started Field Roast, he started Fair Start. So you're right. He does come from a fine dining background.
I love that. I love that. Chef Sesevec, I know that the chat is moving. Do you see any comments? We love always, Chef Tommy, just making sure we call out our comments and give people a chance. If you want to ask any questions, if you've just come in, we're talking to Executive Chef Tommy McDonald with Field Roast. He's been with Field Roast over a decade. We've worked together, and Chef Sesevec, of course, knows Field Roast all too well, because it's, the grain meat that if you've had any amount of time in veganism, you've had Field Roast as one of the top and still one of the leading in the industry.
Absolutely. Yes. So we have a good morning, everyone, from Hey THBC or K, and peace and honor from Uriel. So yes, that's all right for right now. But I see a lot of hearts coming in.
A lot of hearts. Well,
Yeah.
Chef, what a wonderful way to start in a story to tell. What inspired the cookbook?
So that's a really good story too. So a few things, and I brought some show and tell. So,
Oh, good.
um,
We like show and tell.
so the first piece was David always had an idea for doing a cookbook, and the idea was kind of centered around open sourcing the ideas behind Field Roast, sharing the work that he had put, him and other folks at Field Roast had put in over time, sharing that with people in the hopes that they would take that energy and continue to spin it out into new creative spaces. And I think David was really genuinely excited about that. We toss it around when we talk about the category sometimes, vegetarian meat, that is, that a rising tide raises all boats. I think David really kind of felt that intrinsically and wanted to share everything with people. I kind of felt, coupled with that, that it was really important to share these recipes and techniques, because for me, and I think for a lot of people, point of origin on their with their food is really important. Like I said, I'm a sucker for a story, and I think sometimes when I'm shopping for food, I kind of create my own story. I'm walking down the produce aisle and I'm looking at the oranges. Oh, these caras are from whatever, they're from this place in Florida. Oh, I've been there, and I'm like imagining the grove, like, you know, like, and that's really important, and because we want to know what we're putting in our bodies. You know, however you define it, whether your body's your temple or whatever, right? This is the vehicle that's carrying us around for the foreseeable future, and we need to take good care of it. And so we want to know where it's coming from. And I think with vegetarian meats, I think a lot of people who purchase those and use those products and eat those products, they struggle with the point of origin. Where does this come from? Does it, you know, I'm not really sure. And so I think with sharing these recipes, it helps to give a point of origin to what you're eating. And I think that that's also really important. On top of it, the book itself is not just recipes on how to make field roast, but it's kind of a I would say a representation of the culinary ethos of field roast. And some of that I think comes from me, some of that comes from David, and some of that comes from all of the people that use field roast and eat field roast and do all these creative things with field roast. And in my work with field roast, I've had the chance to work with a lot of incredible chefs, and I think that we've been taking the plant-based meat to the next logical step. So David and others brought it to where field roast was, and I think we've been working on taking it to the next place, and I was excited to put that in book form. And then I would say to heap onto it, Seattle to me is super important in this inspiration. I grew up and this is going to get a little granular with Seattle, but I grew up in the north end of Seattle, and at a certain point when I started my culinary journey, probably around like 19 or 20, I moved to the south end of Seattle. The south end of Seattle is a very rich in culture place, I guess you would say. So I was exposed to a lot of, you know, Japanese, Mexican, Filipino, Ethiopian and Eritrean, Vietnamese food and culture. And I think that, to me, because I was just eating that food all of the time, it just felt so. All of those different culinary techniques and culinary ecosystems felt more natural, because there's little markets that have all the specialty ingredients. There's restaurants that represent these, you know, these culinary traditions well, and you have great food all over the place, and people are eating, and even if you're not from that culture. So I was excited to express that in my own way in the book. And yeah, so I think, and I guess I put a little note down here. More than anything else, we're hoping to put, and we're always trying to do this, because David and I think we shared this in common. We hate cookbooks, or we hate the idea that people feel like they need to follow a recipe to a T.
Yes. Yes.
We just wanted people to feel more comfortable in the kitchen.
Yeah.
That's it. You know, just have some ease, and it's going to make everything you do in the kitchen better. It's going to make your experience more pleasurable. It's going to make the food taste better. All of that. So I guess that was kind of the energy behind the book.
I love it. Chef Sesabek, I see you nodding. What are your thoughts right now?
Oh my goodness, everything that you're saying, Chef Tommy, it just resonates with me. Just getting in the kitchen and not looking at every single measurement.
Yeah.
Cooking with love and ease, it definitely makes a difference when cooking. So I couldn't agree more. Kudos to you and Chef for, collaborating and doing such a wonderful job with that. I look forward to getting my hand on the book. Love the product, so I know I'm going to love the book.
Yeah, it's a great book, fam. Field Roast 101 Vegan Meat Recipes to Cook, Share, and Savor. And like Chef Tommy is saying, it's more than a vegan meat cookbook, but it is showing you how to make your vegan meats from scratch. You don't have to, go Google and not know if the recipe's going to turn out right. And you've bought all these ingredients. You've got authority here. You have authority here. So I would say check it out. Chef, do you see any new comments? I thought I saw some coming through because people are familiar and somebody wants to have beer with field roast. Did I see that?
Uh, can you see it on your side? Because I'm not
Let
able
me
to.
see.
Let's
Okay.
see.
I thought I saw it. Let me come back here.
Okay.
Whew. All right. Clover Valley Culinary. That's a friend, colleague of mine. We get in a lot of trouble together in the culinary world. I'm going to have to try with beer since it's grain based. Okay.
Oh, we got one here, Chef. I like the photos, but I'm always going off-road recipes unless it's baking. I'm gonna totally agree with you 100% on that. Do not improvise on the baking
Not the
recipes.
baking. That's a science. Let's see. I see another one here from Heaveneth PK. I'm going to say I am a chef also. I really love, I don't know why they put this in white on the screen. I really love that story background about the owner, Chef David's encounter, not being vegan. My first experience eating it was delicious. Field roast, I'm gathering, and pursued curiosity in R&D. Okay, so R&D, research and development. All right, I think I've got them all. Do you guys see anything else on your side?
I don't.
Nah.
We just love keeping our community engaged and in the conversation. So when I see anything, let's see, me too. I like, oh, you got that one, Chef. Okay, so Chef, after you talk, Chef Tommy, about all this, tell us about the rich history. When you talk about stories, everything is stories now. We're on Instagram. They're telling us, tell stories, be engaged. Everyone, engage. We've got another platform that gives you points for being engaged. And the better the storyteller you are, the better people lean in. And then you talk about open source. And we hear a lot about open source today, but you guys were doing open source back when it probably wasn't popular. So I just want to bring that up because we have to really think about, to your point, you said point of origin.
Yeah.
Where is this, I'm going to say, meat alternative, plant-based meat in the world we're in today in 2025? A lot of people are like, well, one, I can't read the ingredients. I don't know what they are. You can read all the ingredients on a field roast label. And people are wondering. So give us a little bit of the background with the charcuterie, the European charcuterie, and then, like you're saying, these cultural mixes of the Asian Ming Qing.
Right. That's you're serving me up the field roast softballs here, Chef. That's right in my wheelhouse. Okay, so field roast I think is really cool, and this is something that drew me into what field roast is, and it's a fusion of ideas. And you mentioned the Mein Ching, which is through my field roast history, there's been multiple definitions of what that is, and one of the definitions is in David's original cookbook right here. You can see it's a little stained and right.
Those are the best ones. They've been used if they're stained or the pages have been folded, right?
I'll never throw it away. I don't know how it was bequeathed unto me, but it's not going anywhere. It's coming with me everywhere I go. So, but there was some mention of the sinew of wheat and that was one of the translations that was in here. There's like a lot of research that David had listed in here, and but the Manching, that idea comes from, if you have imagine a ball of dough and just wheat and water, and you take that ball of dough and you put it in a tub and you start to work that dough and you knead the dough, the water will start to become milky. And some of you, I'm sure some of you listening have done this before. And this is the process of making seitan, essentially. And as that water becomes more milky, you can change the water out, put new water in, you keep working the dough. And what you're doing is you're washing the carbohydrates from the dough. And if you continue to do that, you'll end up with a dough that could be anywhere up to like 92% protein. It's a ton of protein. And then you take that dough and you'll season the dough and you'll cook the dough, and that's your seitan. So, or your Manching, your Buddha's food. And so that comes from China, that process. And field roast is taking that idea and fusing it with the idea of making charcuterie. So, excuse me, with most charcuterie, you start with a grind. That's our base. And rather than using animals, we use our wheat meat, our grains, our seitan, and we'll take that ball of dough and we'll run it through a meat grinder, and we'll combine it with whatever vegetables, spices, red wine, garlic, olive oil, delicious ingredients to create charcuterie, but with plants, with grains. So field roast, that idea is fusing those two techniques together to create something totally new. And I think that that's a very inspiring and an awesome thing, and I think that aligns with my culinary approach, is taking what's tried and true and old and making it new, and that's really exciting to me. Also, it's using wheat. You know, humans have had a relationship with wheat for over 10,000 years. So the idea of getting people jazzed about or using wheat as a staple in their diet is not, I don't think, is a hard thing to do. Obviously, if you're celiac or you need to be gluten-free, totally different story. That's what we tell people. Hey, we respect that. Field roast is probably not the product for you. And like, that's okay. There's a lot of other good stuff out there. So yeah, and then obviously, you know, wheat is giving us an incredible texture, that bounciness, that tooth resistance, and which makes our seitan, Manching, our products unique.
And how far back does Buddhist grain meats go? Because people think, I don't know, Chef Sesabek, we've talked about this. People think this idea of plant-based meats is new.
Right.
Because the way
Definitely.
it's being presented to us, you know, whether it's cultured meat or it's, like you said, alt meat, mushroom meat. But
Right.
I really want people to get a sense, because what we'll do, Chef, we're going to post the replay after we finish. It'll populate, and then we do some clips with it. And so we have a very large audience that watches a community after we post it again, the replay. So I want people to really think about that, what Field Roast has done and started out in, was it 1997, right?
1997, yeah.
Okay. I'm doing my homework because I'm getting an A on this test. I want people to realize that these are, you know, like veganism. Before it was labeled vegan, people were eating what we now know as vegan food, and people were being conscious and, you know, concerned about animal welfare and guardianship and the environment. And now sustainability is the word of the day and has been for a while. But you go to these climate, environmental, you know, conferences, and meat seems to be left out. I mean, excuse me, plant-based. right? Or food in general. And it's like, how are you leaving that out because it's such a big component? So what I want people to realize, this is not new. This is not new. You and Field Roast have been doing this for a long time, but there have been those that have come long before us. And so I would love just to hear you give us a little bit of that background, or just how much time, so people have a time frame to get out of this time warp, like this is something new and it's, you know, not natural, etc.
Right. So in the interest of not wanting to be fact checked on this post-mortem, I don't know that I'm going to quote dates, but in my research for the book, and in what I've gotten from David's research, it seems that this process kind of spawned off of where pasta comes from. So when you think about the inception of making pasta and noodles, this is kind of let's see, a little side adjacent, a little off ramp from that process. So it's, as long as pasta has been made, I believe this has kind of been an idea. So working that dough, essentially, which is similar to the process of making pasta, and kind of pounding or flattening that dough out, this is where that process spun off of.
I love that, because people can make an analogy and it makes sense.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
Right. Now when you talk about plant-based in the US and our kind of plant-based meats, I feel like the start of that is probably could be attributed to Seventh-day Adventists and the macrobiotic movement, 50s, 60s, 70s. And I think that's kind of the start of plant-based meats. So still, it's been around for a while.
Yeah. Now, I think it's important that, like you said, we understand origin. And when people are looking at the products that are on the shelf in the cooler, because most aren't going to run home and make seitan, maybe they will get inspired now that they know that your book is available, Field Roast 101 Vegan Meat Recipes to Cook, Share, and Savor. That is great. But again, I don't think the story has been told like you're telling it, about origin and time. Chef Sesabek, I mean, you're vegan since birth, so this is what you know. And, you know, tell us a little bit about not just your parents, your mom being vegan, but your grandparents.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're asking about their journey?
Well, no, just people think one generation maybe, but two generations?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I mean, we do exist. And I mean, it was something that was so taboo in the South. And yeah, there have been people out here doing it for sure. And
Yeah.
I'm here.
You're here and you look healthy and strong, you know? So that myth
Absolutely.
about, oh, you can't survive or sustain on a plant-based diet came into veganism, natural competitive bodybuilding, Venice Beach.
Oh.
I mean, everything in my world was protein.
Absolutely.
And when it came to that realization, I was like, where am I going to get my protein? So I love that question when people ask it, because I'm always like, how much time do you have? Because I'm going to go deep and I'm not leaving anything out. Chef, you see any comments? I'm trying to keep up with. Okay. Well said. Marco Polo brought pasta to Italy from his travels to China. Okay. Love that. Clover Valley Culinary. And then I see somebody in here, Heaven's Park. I got to get what okay. It's Heaven Third Park. Okay. You know who I'm talking about. I'm listening to the water bath process of seitan. Oh boy, I had a horrible outcome my first time attempting to make seitan. It was 15 years ago. I never tried it again, but your book, Chef Tommy, may renew my faith. I love that.
Yeah. Hey, mistakes happen. When I was developing for the book, I was steaming a lot of my seitan in bamboo steamer baskets, So I'd put it on the wok and then put a bunch of water underneath and then steam it in the steamer baskets. And I'm batch after batch after batch after batch. I want to get this right. And I fell asleep and the wok ran out of water. And I woke up to a townhouse full of smoke and essentially charred steamer baskets. So in a way, the writing of the book was a very harrowing experience.
Yeah. I love that. And we made seitan in one of my culinary schools. All I remember was just you felt like you were washing laundry because you just had to keep washing, like you said, to get to that gluten protein and the milky water. And I was just glad I worked out because I had the energy in my arms.
Right.
Many times people would take breaks and I'd still be there. I felt like I was on a washboard working it out.
Well, now, one thing that's really cool about the recipes in the book, while you can work the dough from wheat flour, and like you said, it is a workout. What we've done with the recipes in the book is we utilize an ingredient which is called vital wheat gluten, which is essentially it's all the work done for you. It's a flour that's been washed of the carbohydrates. That's really all it is. Working for Field Roast, I've gotten to go and tour our suppliers' facilities. And I think one thing that's really cool, and this is what I tell people who are curious about our products, is that using wheat is a really clean way to make a plant-based meat. A lot of plant-based meats will use protein isolates, and we do too. Vital wheat gluten is a protein isolate. We've just isolated the protein. But to achieve our protein isolate, to get our vital wheat gluten, all you need is water and agitation, which is what that seitan making process is. But to see that done on a large scale is pretty cool. It's just these giant shaker boxes that wash water through the flour and agitate. So it's a whole giant floor full of them. It's kind of hard to walk down the aisle because everything's moving, but it's a pretty clean, reasonably clean process. So yeah, long story short, we'll save you a little work. You can just get the vital wheat gluten. Bob's makes a great one. Plug it here, Bob's Red Mill, and you can just use that. Don't worry about all the kneading, but you can if you want to. You need a forearm workout.
Chef Sesebek, have you made seitan? I imagine.
Oh my gosh, yes. And just you explaining it, I would wake up my mom making it, my grandmother made it. So yeah, that's like the norm. Yeah.
And
It's beautiful.
the thing, it's nice because you can make it any flavor, I'm going to say,
Yeah.
Right.
how you season it, whether it's a roast, whether it's like chicken
Yeah.
or other. And so it is a real, like you're saying, strong base. Chef Tommy, with that history, what do you say to chefs? Because we have a mixture of community people that just want to know where their food is coming from. And I'm going to go to my closest store and look for field roast now, or those of us that are actually in the commercial kitchens, whether we're private chefs, whether we're working, in larger environments. I was recruited in 2018 to actually work with a healthcare company that is owned by Seventh-day Adventists. So I am right there with you. Those roads we just keep crossing. Yep. What do you say to chefs today? Because they know they can't ignore it any longer.
Right.
Because flexitarians are the largest population demanding more plant-based foods. What do you say to culinarians, I'm going to say, that want to put more plant-based meats on their menu, and they might be just a little bit confused with where to start, where to go, and how to keep their customers happy?
Right. So I have this conversation a lot, and I try to tailor it to kind of the restaurateur or the chef and where they are and what space they exist in. But I think to kind of distill it down to a couple of like crucial points, I think one, you want to keep it simple. I try to stick to that in a lot of things in my life, but I think especially with plant-based, just keep it simple. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Just Simple ingredients, simple flavors. Stick with that. 2, make something you would eat. I know that sounds really intuitive, but I think for a chef or a restaurant operator, person who is designing the menu, or a person who is executing the menu, they may know that they need to have a plant-based option, but so many times when I'm talking to chefs and they talk about what they're putting on their menu for plant-based, the conversation really kind of touches on, well, it's not really for me. I don't really eat this kind of stuff, but like we have it on the menu. It sells okay. Like that's like red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag, red, like make something you would eat. If you don't like it and you're making it, come on, as chefs, we know like that's not going to taste good. You need
Right.
you need to put good energy into what you're doing. You need to like what you're doing and make something that you want to eat. And then the last one, and this is maybe the next level beyond make something you would eat, is, and this is this comes from someone else in my field roast travels, and this has always stuck with me. You need to make it craveable. You should aim for that alarm bell in somebody's head when they've gotten done with their hike, or they went surfing for the day, or they just crushed that 5K, or they had they're starving Marvin, and they're like, I'm craving. It needs to be your dish. Okay, you need to aim to make something craveable. So I guess that's kind of my advice. But there's so many different products out there, right? So depending on whether you just want to like dip your toes in it, and you want to start at level 1, there are direct facsimiles of your animal-based products that you could treat the exact same way, put it on the exact same carrier with the same sauces, maybe sub out the mayo for a plant-based mayo, but really you don't have to do much different. All the way to completely reinventing your dish, right? There's and everything in between.
Yeah, I think that's such great points. Chef Sesevec and I don't know who's nodding their head the fastest. After we get off, I always feel like my neck's been worked out because you're dropping so many gems. We're going to lighten it up just a little bit because I see that people are coming in and liking what you're saying. I've pinned fieldroast.com, fam, if you haven't already gotten to it. Yes, I did this one, putting vegan dishes together for Cal Fire and Fed Fire in California. The firefighters have to like it. Yes, Clover Culinary, Valley Culinary. We all have to like it.
Yep.
I think, Chef Tommy's point of make what you would eat.
Yeah.
And we know that a lot of chefs, depending on where they're working, don't necessarily eat the food that they're cooking for many reasons. But, it's when they leave out, if you follow them to see where they're going to eat, that's another story, and I'm not getting in trouble by dropping anything. Craveable, craveable, craveable. Put that in capital letters, craveable. It has to be craveable for all of us. We want to whet. I'm always saying, am I whetting your appetite when I'm doing some kind of cooking? Am I whetting your appetite? Because if I'm not doing it. We have to make someone, or I want someone to basically, salivate and not drool on themselves. Chef Sesevec, let's change the corner a little bit. You have some questions for Chef Tommy.
Absolutely. Yeah, Chef Tommy, I have some quick fire questions. You can answer these within a couple seconds, couple
Yep.
sentences.
Let's do
So
it.
the first question I have for you, what's the very first Bill Roast product that you cooked with?
Smoked apples. Sage was the first one I ever ate. The first one I really, really cooked with that got me inspired is we used to make a meatloaf, which is essentially if you've had our field burger, we used to make it in a little 1-pound meatloaf, and I would steam it, get it all soft and spongy, and then bake it in the oven with barbecue sauce on it.
Wow, that's craveable.
I know, right? I'm thinking, oh my gosh, meatloaf, mashed potatoes. Where are we going here?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, so next question I have for you is what is one seasoning or spice that you can't live without?
Ooh. Okay, I'm going to give you two things here, and one's a total cop out, but I think black pepper is totally underrated. It's totally underrated. And if your black pepper has been sitting in your kitchen, it's the same black pepper you've had for like a year or 2 years or whatever, and it's been ground the whole time. Do yourself a favor, throw it away. Get a pepper grinder, get some nice peppercorns, and grind your pepper fresh. That's one. Number two, I with Berber seasoning. I am not Ethiopian, but I think that's how you say it.
Yes.
I cook with that. I use it all the time. I make my own. It will smell up your house forever in the best way. And I think that's great. It's just like kind of a blend of spices with chili and deep rich spices. You kind of do it on everything. I really love it on carrots, roasted carrots.
Again, craveable. That very good. Very, very good. Okay. Next question. What's your favorite recipe from your cookbook?
Oh, that's an easy one. It's there's a curry in there. It's a cow soy.
Mm.
If you are not familiar with cow soy, it's like it's traditionally, I think, done with chicken, like roasted chicken. It's a yellow curry kind of soup with coconut, and it's all about kind of having the accoutrement on the top. So it's a Thai dish, and you'll put pickled mustard greens, shallots, crispy rice noodles that you've deep fried on the top, and then it's got kind of your meat in the soup. I usually do it with like our plain field or our field roast deli slices, or I'm doing it a lot with tempeh now. If you look on our field roast YouTube, there's a video of us doing it. But I use just the raw spices and make my own curry paste. Uh, just I kind of ripped the recipe from a recipe or from a restaurant that used to exist in Portland called Pok Pok. Andy Ricker, if you're not sure who that is, look him up. He's great. If you're vegan, you're going to have to kind of omit the shrimp paste and fish sauce, but there's plenty of good substitutes out there that'll work. So that's my favorite recipe in the book.
Oh my goodness. That sounds great. I'm gonna have to try that first thing when I get the book. Next question. When you're getting into your cooking groove, what are you doing? What type of music are you playing? What's your pre-cooking ritual?
Well, it totally depends. It totally depends, but I really like to do kind of like some bossa nova or some samba type music. I think is really good. Or yeah, that's kind of my vibe. I think that sets the mood real nice. And I I'm not like a soft volume person. To I like to kick it up and set the vibe right.
Yeah.
I think lighting too, feel comfortable in your space. Also, we all hear this a lot, but mise en place, right? And that's more than just having your ingredients prepped. Just like get your counters cleaned off, get your space right, get everything set up. Don't be cooking around everything like that. Like get right, then cook.
Oh, great advice. That's incredible. Yes, I agree. 110%. And final question, if you could cook a field roast feast with any chef, alive or past, who would it be?
Jacques, Jacques Pepin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I,
Beautiful.
I, that was my greatest field roast moment. We did with one of my coworkers here. We worked the food and wine show in Aspen, which is just an incredible. Like there's not even words. It's summer in Aspen. It's all of the greatest chefs and all the greatest food suppliers, purveyors in one spot. And so for 2 or 3 days, we served field roast. It was kind of like a guerrilla mission. Somehow there was somebody who liked us with Food and Wine magazine. They let us in. And I did this one day. I did our Italian sausage with a parsnip root whip and a kale braised with San Marzanos, and I was doing little tastes in this beautiful little sugarcane bowl. And you know, chef, how we do it. Like you're on the road, but you're putting it together into a nice little bite, and it's composed, but you're hustling, right? And so I'm throwing bites together, and my coworker, she's facing front, handing stuff out. And I'm turning around to refresh the table, and this hand comes in, and it's an old hand. An old hand. And I follow the hand up, and it was Jacques, and he was about to grab a sample, and I was like, "Chef, I have a fresh one for you." And I gave it to him, and he ate it, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, no way." And he ate it, he tried it, and he looked at me, and he was like, "Oh, that's very good." So that was it. I could have retired there and just shut it all down, and I would have been fine. But that was an amazing moment. But if I could cook with anyone, it'd be him.
Beautiful. Wow. Yeah, I'm a sucker for stories too. So just to have like that insight, that was beautiful. You painted a very clear picture. So yeah, that concludes the quick fire. You did amazing. Thank you so much for
You can keep
that.
your job, Chef Tommy. You have to get through Chef Sesevek's quick fire, or else we have to talk about things. And I'm just glad I'm on this side, not having to go through the quick fire with him, because I don't know what he's going to pull out his magic bag, but
I
it's
love it.
always good. It's
Indeed.
always good. We've got Clover Valley Culinary. You've got beer on your mind, Oktoberfest in Aspen. All right. And then we've got Heaven Earth. I'm going to say that right now. Chef T, you are so in my wheelhouse of food faves. Okay. So you're getting brownie points. Maybe you take those points and get some beer with it or something. I don't know. We've got to get a beer company on here that does vegan beer. Hops should be vegan, but you never know unless you know. You know, you brought up a point, and as it's been said, you're saying so many things, because I took the chow, field roast chow, original, and I made cheese sticks
Nice.
in the air fryer and made a Berber sauce, not your marinara. I was like, oh, no, 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 no. We're going to do this. So when you say you make your own seasoning, I am like, heaven and earth. Thank you. Heaven and earth. I was trying to get it. But sometimes those syllables and consonants just are like, what the heck are you trying to tell me on this white screen with white lettering? Thank you. Thank you. We are happy you've been here with us. But Chef, what a wonderful session with you. What
Thank you.
a wonderful session. You know, where we're at today, and with the future of plant-based food and field roast, what are you excited about with all the time you've been in the industry, and the things that you can share with us that field roast will continue to do to break and, you know, take down walls and lessen
Right.
boundaries? Where are you at?
So I think that field roast represents a really awesome foundation. And I think that vegetarian meat, vegan meat has kind of, over the past few years, has been on a wild ride. And I think right now we've got a bit of backlash from the over-processed, not so healthy vibe that's kind of filled the white space around the category. And I think field roast is a tremendous answer to that criticism, because we center our products around making things to taste like the ingredients, the vegetables, the spices that go into it, things like that. And I think that shows up for us. Some of our best selling and fastest growing products right now are some of our oldest field roast flavors, things that are closest to our origin story, our most simple products. And I'm excited about where we take it from there. I At the same time, we're also innovating into new spaces. So one thing, and I brought up more show and tell. We've got something that's going to hit shelves soon, so keep your eyes out for this. This is our
Hold on, Chef. Hold it. Hold it for a minute. It is Plantish Live that brings you things
oh yeah.
before it hits the press. We can date this
This
now. Go ahead, Chef
is the
Tommy.
drop. This is the drop. Okay, so this is our plant-based shreds. So this one we've got two flavors. I only brought one, and it's not even the closed box. I'm going to get in trouble with our marketing team because I stole it out of the stash. But it looks so good. So it's like a shredded meat. It's like this one is almost like a pulled pork a little bit, and it comes with a sauce pack, right? So you heat up the meat, and then when it's all hot and good, you dump that barbecue sauce in, toss it together, and serve it however you're going to serve it. Nachos, on a sandwich, whatever, in a burrito. Or you can just omit the sauce, and it's got seasoning on it already. If you do this one up, I use it as a carnitas. So I kind of fry it in a little bit of coconut oil and get it all crispy on some nice tortillas, cilantro, onion, maybe a little fresh salsa. Boom, bang, you're done. Skip the sauce, but you can also do it as the pulled pork version. We're doing this one, and then we're doing one that's kind of a little bit more like a pulled chicken that comes with a kind of like a Carolina Gold mustard barbecue sauce. Also very good. And then one thing I also want to say, as far as where is plant-based going, I'm very excited about fermentation. I think that is kind of the forefront of what we'll be seeing at the forefront of what we're going to be seeing in the years to come. One thing that we do at our company, and this is with Light Life really well, is tempeh. And I'm very, very excited about tempeh. If you don't know anything about tempeh, Google it, look into it. It's usually made with soybeans, but it can be made with peanuts, black-eyed peas. We're making a new one with chickpeas, and you ferment the beans or legumes together, and in doing so, you create this prebiotic fiber that's really great for your gut, and then obviously you get all the protein from the beans or whatever you're using as your medium, and what it also presents is a really awesome texture. It's great for grilling. It absorbs a marinade really well. And if a lot of people, their first exposure to vegetarian proteins is tofu. It's a great kind of departure from that, while still being whole ingredients. Right, we're using the whole beans and we're fermenting it into a cake. The story behind it is really cool. That's probably for another podcast. It comes from Indonesia, and it's super, super interesting. But yeah, fermentation, it's the future.
Wow.
I love that. Chef Sesevec, I saw your eyes go when he said nachos.
Yes, wherever I go, I'm ordering the nachos if it's on the menu. That's one of my favorite foods. So yeah, I look forward to getting my hands on that for sure.
And they may call me the taco queen, but Chef Sesevec is the nachos king because he may talk about if I go to a restaurant, but it's in his kitchen that he's talking about where he's really getting down. Real URL saying this is so good and detailed. I'm picturing everything. Awesome. Thank you. And culinary. Where'd you go? I gotta keep up. Clover Valley Culinary is talking about Taco Tuesday. Yes, fam, it's Taco Tuesday. So we should be all clamoring to Chef Tommy to get hold of these shreds. But in the meantime, you can get hold of field roast, the crumble, the sausage, the apple and maple sausage. You can get the Light Life tempeh, which I have my tempeh bacon. I keep a backup usually in the freezer.
Yeah.
And, when they're out of it in the store, I'm pretty pissed off. That got me started to keeping a backup in the freezer. Chef Sesevec, what are 3 words that you would use to describe this session today?
Oof. Craveable, insightful, and nourishing. Very nourishing. Yeah, thank you so much, Chef Tommy, for coming on and sharing your insight and your history and storytelling. It was amazing. I look forward to watching the replay as I do 2 to 3 times and just taking notes and digesting all that was shared.
Was it truly is a pleasure to join y'all today. I consider myself very lucky to be in the position that I'm in. But just trust that Field Roast is going to keep bringing it, and look for y'all out on the road and have fun. This is what we always say: have fun in our kitchen, and look for the book. It's out there, Amazon, bookstores. If you have to, go to your local independent bookstore, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go on a bookstore, sit down with 10 books
Totally.
and, keep Field Roast 101 vegan meat recipes to cook, share, and crave on the top, and take it with you and share it with others. Chef Sesabek, did you hear Chef Tommy slide in there with the tempeh? That's another conversation for another podcast. Well, you just confirmed that you will be joining us back, Chef Tommy. We don't miss a beat here. Fam, you could be anywhere and you've spent time with us. Several of you have. And then there are going to be those of you that we know work or are busy and, this hour doesn't work for you, but you come and check out the replay. We are going to post that. I love this, Heaven and Earth. My first time joining the podcast. It was very interesting, educational, and renewable. Thank you for sharing. Yes, we thank Chef Tommy for taking the time, because we chefs are quite busy. And, Chef Tommy and I talked about, I said it to him, I planted the seed last May 2024. Oh, we should do a live together. We should come on and cook together. And maybe all three of us the next time should jam together in the kitchen with the
Very much so.
tempeh and, break it down for the fam. But fam, thank you for being here. Chef Tommy, thank you for being here. Chef Sesabek, my co-host. We show up Tuesdays, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sometimes we're on the road, but we let you know. I thank you all. We always say walk out in all your brilliance, because we've all been given a light to shine. And if your light isn't blinding somebody, you're not shining enough. So we are looking forward to seeing you next Tuesday. You know how we do it, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And until then, check out Field Roast. I'm going to put up again in my stories the cheese sticks, the chow cheese. We didn't even get into the cheese, Chef Tommy. So we've got now a second one, or we'll combine that in our cooking. Man, you got me on a roll right now. And Chef Sesabek knows when I'm a roll, there's no stopping me. So let me just wind down like the ever-ready battery. Fam, we love you coming in and checking us out. Chef Tommy, we celebrate you. We celebrate your time with Field Roast. We celebrate knowing that you are there behind the scenes, pushing the envelope with your team, and the inspiration from Chef David Lee. We thank him for his inspiration and all that he's doing and all that Field Roast continues to do. Fam, we're going to sign off now so you can run to your local store. Yes, I'm selling it. And grab you some Field Roast before everybody gets the news. And the holiday time, you got to check out the roast. I'll stop there because I've been eating and cooking with this food. So I can honestly talk about it, pulling money out of my own pocket. Not sponsored to share this. This is not a paid sponsorship. This is a collaboration of chefs coming together. What Plantish does is close the gap of you not knowing who's behind your food in the plant-based world. And those are the thought leaders, the innovators, and the inspiration that we bring. And again, we thank you and celebrate you, Chef Tommy. We're signing off now, fam.
Yes.
All right, Chef.
Thank
See you next
you.
time.
See you next time.